Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Um, my name is Faz, and this is the second time we're coming live on this channel. And peace and blessings be upon all the people that are listening to us and will listen to us. The topic that I want to discuss today is a topic that is really close to my heart because it's something connected to a person who has been close to the hearts of so many people. Not because he did something or he said something, but because he what he said he did. And till now, there are so many people that derive so many positive emotions, positive motivations from his personality, from his sayings, right? And to discuss about this topic, I have invited my friend Shahbaz Baloch, who's come to us, who is joining us from Mumbai, right? So, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to every single person who's watching this. Fair is a great topic today, man. One of my
Yeah,
biggest roles
yeah,
will always
really
be
crucial.
El Hajj Shabazz. That's what they used to call him. Fair is nice
Shahbaz,
to
right?
see you. All right. I think it was
Yeah.
a great conversation last time. So
Yes,
coming
we
to the
had a great time.
X, I
Hmm.
would try to ask you that what things we can't learn from Malcolm X. He had almost all of these good qualities and a
Yeah.
rough childhood, someone who stood up for himself, someone who stood up for a lot of people, had good orator skills, stood up
How
for
would you
the right.
describe him? If I ask you to describe him in just one sentence, what would that sentence be? It's a difficult question, but
That man was with a vision.
yeah,
That's what I would say. A man that woke up in the morning and he knew that he has something to achieve and definitely was on to his game. And one of the
yeah,
best selling autobiographies is Malcolm X,
no, no, yes,
the one by Alex Haley. A great read, I
yeah.
would say. But I still these words cannot actually comprehend and justify Malcolm X's life because these are certain words. Believe me, he was much more than that. That's what I believe. So,
Mhm.
what about you, Faz? You like Malcolm?
I think his personality is great because he not only represented one race, one nationality, one religion. He was at the amalgamation of three important identities, right? He was African American by his race, right? He was an American by nationality, and he was also Muslim at the later part of his life. He embraced Islam, right? So all these things, and he many things that he did for the society and for the world in general were because of all the problems that he was facing uh, because of his identity, like African American. At that time, African American was a being an African American was a really great struggle, and today also to a great level it is, right? And being a Muslim, like at that time, today also, he was a Muslim. He like we'll talk about his views on media, why he embraced Islam, and what was his views on American society, right, on religion, his philosophy about the manipulation of the masses, right, and his he had a solution to racism. I think he would be able to talk about it in a really good manner than me, right? So all these things make him so much special. So I think he was someone, and there are really few people like that in our history who I think he was someone who would uh, anyone could relate to him. An Indian could relate to him. An African American, of course, could relate to him. An American of today could relate to him easily, right? So these are things that make him so much lovable, I think. What do you think?
Definitely. See, a lot of lessons can be derived from his own
Hmm.
life for in every
Right.
aspect of life. You see, uh,
Hmm.
coming from a rough childhood with no money, with mother struggling so much to raise the kids up. Along the way, growing up, went into jail for for doing certain things, which were out of the bond,
Yeah.
and there into getting into solitude, getting into self-realization. All right, and the best thing is he's a self-learned man. You see, he's a
Not
self-learned
many
man.
people are that. Not
Not
many
many,
people are self-learned.
because he realized a lot of things when he especially went into jail. This is
Mhm.
what he, according to my understanding, this is what he realized. He tried to correct himself first, because he himself realized that he started off an intrinsic journey trying to figure out about himself, and during that journey he just did not learn a lot about himself, but learned every single thing. They say he read every single book in the library, and from there, when he came out, he was a new man. So alhamdulillah, this also proves us the point that, you see,
Readers are leaders.
readers are leaders, definitely. Apart
Right.
from it, it's it's about the vision. It's
Right.
about
And I think he was
specifically.
also what makes him different from many other personalities and leaders is that he was, I think, some people would consider him as too outspoken. But what he did and all the things that he spoke against, it was really essential at that time, and it still is, to speak against all those things. And he never shied away from calling spade a spade, right? So he never was afraid. Like you said that he went to jail,
You
and
see,
like we know that there are other leaders who went to jail, but yeah.
we are a generation where perhaps if you stand up for the right or you speak for the right, you
Right.
might be just considered rude because of the whole
Right.
herd thing, because if you are standing against a group of individuals, they would
Hmm.
just consider it wrong, depending. And to stand up for your own beliefs is something that we all as human beings should understand, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes we know there's something wrong happening right in front of our eyes.
Right.
We know it's wrong, but we still just keep it to ourselves. And when on a collective level, if everyone's like this, and if you find one man who stands up for the right, I believe so, he's gone way ahead of his thing and thought
Um,
about collective level. He was in the
Bhumi
position.
Chaudhary is saying that. Sorry to interrupt you. You can continue what you're saying. I was just trying to read the message. You can continue what you're saying.
Thanks, Savage. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hello, hi Bhumi Chaudhary, Fan Savage. Assalamu alaikum, assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fan Savage. Are you related to Dawood Savage or someone? You know Dawood Savage? He's a great YouTuber. So yes, you were. Please continue what you were saying.
Yeah, so I was just saying the same thing, that it's not only that. And guess what? When he went out searching about his
Hmm.
own heritage,
Yeah.
about his own history, during that course of time, he
Hmm.
learned. So not always complain about the conditions that we are in. The
Of
greatest of the
course.
greatest beings have come out of solitude. They might be in jail.
Right.
And it's curious to know that most of these scholars that we have, or perhaps who stood up for the right, always were in prison. And definitely that made them stronger, you see, because they had a vision. They knew what they have to do, and they found out what was their calling, and they just worked towards it.
Someone said that to achieve something, you just need to have a dream of achieving that, and that dream has to be genuine. If it's not genuine enough, if it's not strong enough, if it's not strong enough to compel you to achieve it, it's not dream. So these people, like, I mean, I would like to say to something that you would be able to relate to, and that is that you must agree to the fact that like people who just waste all their lives going 9 to 5 job, right? They are not the ones who are remembered in history. The
Because
only people that think about others, right, and are willing to take all these struggles and all those hardships just for the sake of others, not thinking of fame or for money or for publicity. They are the ones that are glorified in the pages of the history, right? So I think that's also a lesson from that we can derive from his life.
seeking glory, it has to end somewhere. When you're going out with an
Yeah.
intention, trying to do something to get famous and so, people look into it because you're interacting with humans itself. You know what I mean to say? Somewhere all the
Hmm.
people realize it. But when you have a vision and definitely you're going ahead and thinking of the wellness of the society, all right,
Right.
everyone, because every single person wants to do something good, but it's just sometimes it's their they are bound to some rules or perhaps their own things. So you just give a
Right.
rise to that feeling, and definitely people tag along with you in trying to do good for others. Who doesn't want to do good for others? You see?
See, everybody
And
wants to do that, but nobody wants to do and to bear all the things that come with doing the good for others. Because if there is a person in front of you, you can easily help him. But if you know that there are other things that are attached while helping that person, like if you talk about helping one person, that is okay. But if you want to help a whole community that is oppressed, right? Like he belonged to the African American community, and in America, you know what? An interesting fact. You can correct me if I'm wrong on this. That the American Constitution, it originally allowed for the inhumanity of the slavery. It allowed slavery, the inhuman activity. It allowed it. So as we evolved, as our morality, evolved, and all those things came together, these people thought that slavery is not a good thing.
because
So, and I think, yeah,
see, they, at the end of the day, why is it that the most greatest people came out of solitude? Because once you start to understand that you start off an intrinsic journey and you try to rectify yourself from within, rather than
yeah,
blaming others, and you try to purify yourself, definitely, and you're going to come out and
mhm.
stand. Because how can you stand for others when you cannot even stand for your own self? You see what I'm trying to say? And
I think the
definitely,
start, yeah,
and
I think the
definitely,
start of that is because of learning. Because a person who is not learned, he's not never able to guide some other people, right? He won't be able to guide himself. And the first step towards removing any inequality or like poverty or any other thing begins with rectifying yourself, which includes in education. I think everything precedes, uh, like education precedes everything. And
definitely,
all the
because
leaders, if you find, they would say that you have to be educated before you are able to become a leader, right?
you see, the point is it's all about drive, right?
Right.
As I was watching one of the lecturers, I think he said that most of the people today are doing things perhaps to either gain money, name,
Of
success,
fame.
power, fame, and so on. So when you're bound to all of these convention things, there is a limit for it. And tomorrow, say for an example, you drive or you have a drive and you're doing it for money, and something happens with your salary, your motivation goes down. You see, because anything that you are that you're bound to materialistic gain has to end somewhere, because the world itself is in a constant change. Things keep changing constantly, and definitely, as you said, you have to be educated, but the question to yourself is, what is your purpose? See, nothing good, you cannot scale goodness into anything small or big. Any kind of a small act is always the considered good. At least we are on the right path and we're doing good in our own sense. And once you
You
once you
would
take
you were
good
saying
enough,
something. Yes, you said once you said something really interesting about his journey to the pilgrimage, Malcolm X, his journey to pilgrimage, and how it changed his perception towards everything. And that was a
most of the
brilliant thing. There was so many things that he said after that. There was a transformation in his whole personality. So
you
what was
see
that? Can you just tell?
teacher the biggest teacher and the biggest lessons of life cannot be derived from books. You can just take certain languages, certain things to learn, but the real teacher is life. During his course of time, when he started off with a movement where he wanted to go ahead and raise the black community, and he found out about Islam, and Alhamdulillah, the Islam that he was following, Allahu Alam, Allah knows better, but it was the nation of Islam. Also, I heard where
Which
there
was
was,
a deviant.
you see, and during that course of time when he started living that life, he was a minister. He went out there, he was a great orator, used to speak, raised up so many, he raised up so many mosques and helped so many people in the city. But the trip, what Malcolm X was before Hajj and after Hajj is totally different. Tears would come
Uh,
into your eyes. You would try to see what kind of a journey he went through, and then he realized that Alhamdulillah, Islam is such a religion, subhanallah, that there is equality. This is
before
actually
coming Before coming to his Hajj transformation, can you just talk about his early life? How was he? How was he exposed to? the racism and what were the things that he said. And media also, he said one of the greatest things about media. One of the quotes by him is that he said that if you rely totally on newspaper, on the media will have you hate the innocent, and it will get you to love the criminal. So I think it applies. I mean, it stands the test of time. If you look at what's happening now, and if we apply that quote on today's the situation, you would find that absolutely perfect, right?
Alhamdulillah, you see, uh, when you are derived on a
Thank
single,
you.
you see, when you're derived on a single source and you believe so that the source of information that you're getting, without even validating
Hmm.
that it's true or false, and if you start following it
Right,
blindly, at the end of the day, they can manipulate your behavior the way they want to, right? Look how
right,
the whole manipulation happens, where you start to believe anything and everything. You see, this is what we were talking about first. And if you read
yeah,
most of the biographies, if you read most of these great people, you'll see always there's media manipulation involved, because nobody wants to do
yeah.
bad, but making you do bad. Are you? And who taught you certain things? You see, we have to step up and understand this thing that today, like how Malcolm X was. It was his own journey. He believed in what he wanted to. He went ahead. During that course of time, he realized a lot of things that were taught to him via books or perhaps from other people or influences of other people, that he realized that this wasn't true. And but
Hmm.
sometimes even after understanding that this is not true, what have you done about it? See, when you realize something
Right.
that's true, what have you done about it? Have you made a possible change, or we can just walk over? He realized that these things were true, and the best and the most important thing is of owning up to your own mistakes.
There's also hadith related to what you just said. You said that if you have the ability, you should change it. Otherwise, there are so many people that understand that what's there's something wrong that is happening, but still they are not able to do anything about it. So the hadith, the interpretation of the meaning, I'm not saying that exactly the wording is exactly like that. Interpretation of the meaning. So it is that if someone is able to look at something and he knows that it is wrong, the first and the most important thing is that he should use his hands to change that wrong into and make it into the right thing. He should stop that evil. If he is not able to do that, he should at least he should at least work towards changing that. And even if he cannot do anything at all, even if he cannot ask anyone to help or say that this is wrong, the least that is expected from him is that he should speak, or if he can't even speak, he should think that as wrong in his heart. At
Definitely.
least in our heart, we should think that this is wrong. That's the least thing.
Issues start off when you start doing wrong and it doesn't make you feel bad. That's a death of heart. You
Right,
see, fact, and even if you see something wrong and within your heart, even if you just pass by and think that what's happening is wrong, at least you have some humanity left.
right.
And
Your
with
heart is
time,
not dead yet. Yeah,
yeah, you see,
that's an
with
indication. Yeah,
yeah, that's an indication that at least your heart is not dead. At least you're feeling bad that there is something. If not, at least when you hear something of an oppressed, like how Hamza Yusuf was saying, we are staying in a
put status on
society
what.
where we are
Right.
having while seeing kids die. Have we gone to that
He also
stage?
said that how can people, like if they are on the dinner table and the news of somebody being killed is there, how can people even eat? How can they even finish the dinner? Right? They should
Mhm.
stop eating. That's the indication that your heart is no longer alive.
You see, it's
He
very
said that
easy.
earlier people used to stop eating, and the appetite should die the same time you hear the news of somebody dying, because that simply means that you have no connection to your soul, right? Everything is disconnected, and you don't no longer feel anything human in your heart. You just think that it's daily basic affair. People die every day, right?
See,
And I think
it's the
yes,
number. As when we
yes,
hear
yes, yes.
it's just a number, but
Hmm.
have you, we all as people have experienced to lose someone who's close by. Might be a grandfather,
Right.
might be a grandmother, might be a close friend, might be someone. How much impact does it have on person's life? So can you imagine if you hear that 1,000 people were killed today, Like these are thousand families who have been destroyed, and how it's very easy for us to sit down on this side of the
I think
screen and
somebody said that, I think Stalin said it or somebody else said it, that one death is a murder or one death is a death and 1,000 death is just a number. It's just statistics.
uh, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you kill one human, it's like you kill the whole of
Killing all
humanity.
of humanity. Right.
You killed all of the humanity. And the thing
Mm.
is, as you said, if you have those skills, and right now, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that skill of talking. And with that, if we can even pass by just a message of goodness to people, that itself
Right.
you are contributing. Because if you have to understand that from your perspective, you are the center of the universe and everything is around
Right.
you. You might be
So
in one
can you just tell us some of the thoughts by or some of his views, right, about media manipulation? I think you are the best person to talk about media manipulation. So what do you think? How do you think the views of Malcolm X on media manipulation is different from how we see it today? Because like views tend to change, but if there is a personality who has said something, right, and he's someone who is admired by, I think, people from all walks of life, from all the countries, I guess. So what do you think? How do you think those views that he had on the media, how well are they applicable in today's scenario?
You see, the thing is, as I said last time when we spoke about it, Faiz,
Yes,
that
yes.
manipulating everyone using any platform,
Uh,
because we are getting into
mhm.
rectification, not into self knowledge, right? We don't like to correct or try to understand the news that we've got, the news that
Mhm.
we've got. We haven't even found out the source of it, right? Rather than just seeing it online and just posting it to people or telling them whatever they want to. You see, they say that a person who passes the news without even passing a news without even rectifying it is probably a liar.
Yeah,
You
we
see,
have to
and
check where the source of the root.
you
And I
see,
think that that's also something that one of the verses of the Quran talks about in the chapter Hujurat, which I guess is chapter 49. I mean, I'll correct down if I'm wrong, and I'm not exactly sure what's the ayat is, but interpretation of the meaning. It's that God says, if somebody who is of doubtful credibility, if he comes up to you and if he brings up to you a news, you should check it first. If you do not check it and spread it, right, then that would make you feel regret afterwards. I think that is a solution for fake news that has plagued today's world,
and
right?
we know what the
So,
thing is. We exactly know that it is fake because today they are saying something, tomorrow they say something else. But at the end of the day, the biggest, I think, the worst of the worst weapon is a screen that we have in every room. You see, and they
yes.
can manipulate us the way they want to, right? Because planning, planning is the act of devil.
Mm,
Truth require
right.
planning. It's straightforward. And if the thing is, you have your sensories,
Mhm.
you have your own intellect,
Right.
like how Quran all the
Right.
time talks, ponder, think, use your intellect.
Mhm.
You have to understand that just because if you start to believe anything and everything, as I said last time, the person who's killing doesn't know why is he killing, and the person who's getting killed doesn't know why is he getting killed. Have you gone out there? Have you spoken to people? Have you realized that what they are talking about? And plus, we said that we try to judge and put everyone into one space. You
But
see,
can I just ask? Can I ask something that you said that you have to go out there to check if the news that has reached you actually happened or not? But if that news is about a country that is far off, how can a person just physically go there and verify it? He has to trust one of the sources, or he has to see that if the same news is getting, if he's getting the same news from many sources, it must be right. And I think that also roughly how the hadith methodology works,
you
because
see,
if the same narration is said by so many people, then it is said to be sahih or authentic.
you see, the
So
thing.
how do you agree with that line of reasoning or thinking?
Yeah, what I believe in is this is the strategy that I always use for myself, and it keeps myself away. Is what doesn't matter me, I don't get into khilaf. And if that
Yeah.
news has to enter my mind, My biggest question to
Mhm.
myself, what am I going to do about it? If I'm not going to be doing
Right.
anything for it and trying to listen to it for the heck of entertainment, then what's the point about it? You see, some people just want to sit down and listen to news and listen to all of
That's
these things.
the can I that is the reply to salam. That's not a greeting. That's the reply to the greeting. Anyway, thank you, Krishna. Thank you. Do you have, if you have anything else to say about the topic, we'll welcome it and we'll talk about it. Any suggestions about any point from your side on the topic, right? That would be great. Yes.
But Alhamdulillah, you
Yes, you
see,
were
when you
saying something.
be right, no matter how long you've been passed away, you will definitely get the respect that you deserve.
Walaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
It means that and peace and blessings be upon you too, right? For those who don't know. Yeah. You please continue what you were saying.
Yeah, I was saying the same thing, Alhamdulillah, that
Mm-hmm.
stand up for the right and you're doing it for the so purpose that you have to correct that right rather than having your any kind of personal
Sahil,
gain. At least
right,
you
right,
have a bit of a contribution towards the society. You see, at
right.
least a few words would help. But rather than sitting out there and just enjoying and listening to things for the sake of enjoyment and then trying to sit down at one place and complain why the world is in this shape, doesn't make no point.
I think Albert Einstein said that what's wrong with the good people is that they look at the bad people and complain. They don't do anything against them. They don't go out there and solve, because I mean that's also a problem, because if you look at it, the society, if society is plagued by evil, that doesn't mean that 90% of the society is evil. That simply means that uh, even if 10% of the society is doing something evil, what what's the root of the problem is that the rest 90% are not doing anything against it, are simply quiet about it. When Hitler was killing the Jews and other people, right? So one of the people, I don't remember the name of the one who said this, but he said that why we teach our children history is not to make them remember how many Jews Hitler killed, but to make them understand why the rest of Germany wasn't doing anything when he was killing those people,
Because
right?
what do you expect? What do you expect from a group of individuals, especially I would include most of us, who try to think on a collective level rather than on an individual level, right? If somebody is doing
Do
wrong,
you
you
read
can.
what? Yeah,
I heard about what Krishna said. When you see a person, right, doing wrong, it's that person who's doing wrong, not his faith, not his race,
yeah.
not his religion. At least in this 21st century that we are living in, at least that little bit of understanding is more than ever, because it is not the Indian who's doing this. It is Faiz or it is Shabazz. You know what I mean to say. It is not that Muslim who's doing it. It's Faiz or it's Shabazz, and we all are living an individual life with our own problems. Now, today, for an example, what's happening in the world and
Right.
right, what's happening around in the world and so and so. What does I'll give you an example. What does a father who's had a breakfast in the morning and has no money to have lunch? Do you think these problems actually make a difference? You see, what has happened today, the enjoyment that we've got, it's very nice for us to sit down at one corner, have a great amount of meal in front of us, have a good place to stay in. It's very easy for people like us to sit down and definitely talk about all
Right.
this thing. But imagine those people who are
Can you
suffering.
just, yes, you know what? I think one of the problems that Malcolm X had to face, and most of the African Americans at that time, and still today, some of them are facing, is the problem of racism. They're being differentiated against. So, can we just talk about the root of this problem? What do you think is the root of, I mean, the fact that you have to hate somebody just because their skin color is not like you,
But the biggest thing is, where do you learn from? Where do you learn all of these things from?
right?
We as humans were born to
It's
love,
not
but
it's
we are
not
very,
natural. It has been taught to you, of
it has
course.
been, if you see a
But still,
child,
why do they? why would you teach your child to hate somebody, hate a black child or hate a white child or hate a child belonging to a particular
If there,
religious or ethnic or racial community?
you see, if there is no hate, if there is no racism, if there is no play of ego, like all of these plays of ego, how are they going to get a kick out of it? Imagine if every
So
single
I think,
person.
yeah,
So to try to put someone down and try to be above itself is, nobody's above no one. You see, death equalizes everyone. You might be black, you might be white, you might be whatever race or whatever it is. Death will equalize everyone. And for the fact that you have to look down on someone,
thank you for our cause. I don't think it's your name, but whoever you are, thank you. Thanks a lot. It really means a lot for me. Nobody has said ever this to me. This is also. So yes, you were saying something.
yeah, you see, now Krishna is saying a very beautiful thing, that where did you learn all of these things from? Where are all of these informations coming from? Either from a source of verbal,
Yes,
person to person, either it's coming
I
perhaps
mean,
from.
he said something that is really crucial. I'm not targeting this company or something, but the fact that you have to show others that you are not beautiful as long as you do not use our product, which would make you fair, which would make you look younger. That's the problem. I think that's one of the many ways from which this problem of I don't blame it for racism at all. I don't do that, but it is adding up to the that mentality that being fairer is being better. What do you think?
Definitely. You see, the thing over here is perhaps, as I said, where do you learn all of these things from? What is your source of information,
Yeah.
and who are you taking that information from? Because as an individual,
Hmm.
imagine individual, I wake up in the morning and I've been taught that so and so race is about so and so. You have to talk to this person in this way. You have to talk to that person in that way.
Yeah.
This is that.
You have to stay away from that person because he belongs to that
Yeah,
race or that ethnicity or that nationality.
definitely. And when you're walking out, imagine the
So I
kind of
think, uh,
you're walking with, where you have hate for everyone.
yes.
You don't know
So
goodness.
so we have okay. So at this point, we have concluded that at least there is one reason for this mentality uh, to be growing. It's not. I don't know. Nobody can claim that it has stopped completely. Right? Racism is still there. That's the reason why these protests were happening 2020, right? And in beauty production, this what do you call it, commercialization or this what do you call it, consumerism. Consumerism is one of the reasons, but the bigger reason I think is like if you are a king of a nation, right? And if there is a if you believe that a particular race is superior to all the other races, and your kingdom comprises of 60% of people of your race who you think are superior, and another 40% are those people who you think are inferior, right? And they are the ones that do not look like you. So if I'm the king, I should have around me people who look like me so that they would see that he's our king, so he is looking like us. Then I would be completely associated, and that mentality is making me completely associated with the rest of the population, right? So what I would do is I would preach hate. I would say that they do not belong to this nation or this kingdom, whatever. So I think that's also so that brings us to the political cause of it. So if you bring that example to today's perspective, is to put that in perspective, we'll find that there are like so many types of politics that are going on throughout the world that are basically built on hatred against a community, and we've got so many lessons from it. What happened in Rwanda, one of the countries of Africa, right? A particular community which comprised millions of people were literally killed to each and every single person in that community. So, I mean, we have examples all around us. But as I said in the earlier post, the previous podcast also, was that one of the things that humans never learn from history is that one of the things that we learn from history is that we never learn from history, right? So
Because
that's
see,
a problem. We should learn from history.
observation. right? It is liable, either it can be true, either it can be false. The true and the fact is, if you want to get into this whole egoistic circle of life that we're living in, because the world itself is not designed to make you happy. Understand this thing.
Right.
The world is not designed, because one at you reach to a point of time when you start to feel you're content and you're happy, then they try to push you that there is another level. The best thing is either you get into this rat race or you put yourself out of it and try to be a part of an unconventional world where you see and try to contemplate this thing. You can hear
I
me
can't
now?
hear you.
You can hear me?
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Try speaking some. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Can you speak some?
Can you hear me now?
Raise your hand if you are listening to me. He is listening to me. Why am I not?
Can you hear
Should
me
I tell
now?
you? Yes. Can you try to mute yourself and then unmute yourself again?
Can you hear me now?
Can you speak something?
1 second. How do you?
I can't hear you still.
Can you hear me now?
Can you, I still can't hear you. Huh? Yes, can you speak again something?
Can you hear me?
I don't know.
Speak.
Can you hear me now?
I'm not able to hear you. So is there anyone on the so it's not it's not there, I think. You see, there it's not there. There's some problem from his side. I think some technical issues from his side. So if there is anyone who in the chat who can talk to me, crypto, yeah, we can talk about crypto. What do you want to say about crypto? I would be really delighted to hear what your views on crypto are, because I don't think I'm eligible enough to talk about this topic. I know a lot of things, I've heard about it, I've read about it, but I think you are someone who could tell me more about it. So yes, SR Khan. We learn it from the Fair and Lovely. We learn it from the Fair and Lovely ad or the racism thing, right? So if Krishna could tell me something about more about crypto, I think cryptocurrency is something that should be talked about and it is talked about. But the fact that uh, you you have currency that nobody is taking the guarantee of, that's a problematic idea, because any day it could just go off and nobody would say anything. Nobody can say anything because when you use your currency notes and coins, at least there's someone who is taking the guarantee. The government is taking the guarantee. But what about crypto? Because we don't even know clearly who the founder is, right? Alpha Free Fire. How are you? Hello. I'm great. How are you? Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'm doing fine. How are you doing? How are you doing? How was the day? How is everything? What new did you learn today? I would like to talk to this person, this the crypto guy. One sec, just wait for 2 minutes. Somebody else is joining us. Can we just end this and start again? Start live again? Huh? Okay, we're ending this. We're going live again. So join us there.